rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. I got a little interesting crackling in my ear. Don't know why. Anyway, moving on. So, we are coming around the corner to head down to the final stretch. We've got I won't say exactly, but we've got about 1 week left for the polls to open. This election season will be almost over. Yeah, folks, we got, and let me tell you, the shenanigans have started, and it's not even just the shenanigans. It's all kinds of stuff that are happening in the world, in the world of U.S. elections anyway. I got a little bit about that kind of stuff coming up here. Also, too, I have a badge of honor to announce to you guys. That is, I'm going to wear it certainly as a badge of honor. Okay. And I'll get to that in just 1 second. But first, let's go ahead and follow along. Follow along with G. That's right. G will be leading our Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one. If not, place your hand over your heart. And let's follow along with G in the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, I thank G for submitting that to me. If you would like to hear your version of the pledge, if you want to hear your version of the pledge done here on the program, it's actually not that difficult. All you need to do is record yourself reciting it in your version, your style, however you want to do it, and take that audio file that thing creates, attach it to an email, and send it off to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. Wow. All right. What am I good? Who am I doing tonight as the top end sponsor? Well, that's a good question that you asked. It is TGRN, True Grit Roots Network, with located at TGRN.net. Oh my gosh, I am just failing. Anyway, TGRN.net is our home on the internet. You can go to TGRN.net. You can listen directly through your browser, or if you want to, you can download our app, or if you already have the Live 365, the Odyssey, that's AUDACY, or the iHeartRadio app, you can find us in their catalog of digital radio stations and listen to us all through all three of those, if you so desire. Let me tell you about a couple of weekly programs that we have that are not necessarily specific, other than the fact that they are weekly programs that they run Monday through Friday. The first one, of course, is the Morning Blues Cafe. That starts at 6 a.m. Central Time and brings you into the morning with a nice, easy listening mix of blues. And then, of course, is our lunchtime Blue Plate Special. That starts at noon Central Time and features our on-air personalities, where they reach into our kitchen and they pull out cuts of blues and R&B and some other things and set you up for their shows that night. Tonight's live show, by the way, is Music on the Couch, starting at 8 p.m. Central Time, which will be right after this show right here. So you can head on over to tgrn.net and listen in to Vinny Marini as he brings you interviews and music from musicians that you should know. Join Vinny Marini on Music on the Couch, 8 p.m. Central Time, right on Monday nights. That's right after this show. You can go and check that out. TGRN.net, that's True Grit Roots Network with TGRN Blues. And we are based out of Austin, Texas. Oh my gosh, I think I just minced meat that freaking ad spot. Ugh. Anyway, if my buddy was on, he'd be like texting me going, okay, that could have been better. Oh, Lord. But I got to tell you, there is so much. Oh my gosh, there's so much. The entire news cycle, while it is all wrapped around the election, is just going gangbusters. I probably won't even get through all of the articles and stuff that I have to talk about tonight because I only have an hour for tonight. But that being said, there's still so much that I left on the cutting room floor, man. There's just so much going on right now, and it's going to just accelerate even more getting into the election cycle. But I have a badge of honor that I want to announce to you folks tonight. And it has to deal with the fact that, I've been going around and I know you guys know that X is a primary place for me to hang out and beat on some Democrat lunatic leftist morons. Okay. And real quick, yes, Mark, that will be just fine. So here's the thing. I've been going around and I've been beating on them. Big, small, doesn't matter. I don't care. If they're a leftist lunatic moron, Marxist leftist, whatever, on X, and I get an opportunity, I go ahead and I hit them with the fact that, hey, you know what? If you're voting for Kamala Harris right now, you are a literal moron. Okay. Well, most of them, honestly, they don't even respond to me. I don't know if they muted me or whatever. A few, and I'm, handful or so, they go and they block me, which of course I grab their photo or whatever of the picture of the page where they've blocked me. And I basically post it and say, well, folks, this person obviously doesn't want to hear the truth. The greatest, as of yet, got to classify that, the greatest and largest account that has actually blocked me so far is Rick Wilson. Now, for those of you that don't know about Rick Wilson is a clear Democrat leftist lunatic co-founder of the Lincoln Project, also known as the Lenin Project, meaning Marx, Marx, Lenin, those kind of things. So Rick Wilson has been a political commentator. He's been on MSNBC. He's been on CNN. He has written articles for the Washington Post, Politico, which of course is Bullshitico, the Rolling Stone, the Hill, the Bulwark, the London Spectator. This guy is not a right-leaning individual whatsoever. In fact, Dan Bongino has a problem with Rick Wilson as well and has called him out for saying that Rick Wilson has this particular odor about him, and stuff like that. And so anyway, I mean, all I did over the weekend, which this happened on Sunday, by the way, or at least I found out on Sunday. I don't know specifically when it happened, but he was posting a bunch of bullshit, and he kept posting on X. You'll probably go back and find him, honestly. I mean, I can't see what he said. You'll be able to see what I said, but I can't see what he said. But anyway, anymore, because he's got me blocked. But he went he went around and I don't know, but he went around and he posted a whole bunch of stuff, which of course was lies and incorrect. And so I'd call him out and I'd tell him to, say the truth and then call him a moron. And sometimes I'd just call him a moron because that's who he is. That's what the Democrats are right now, is they are literally morons. And I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry for calling you out because honestly, that's the truth. If you can't see what the Democrat Party, the new Democrat Party, not the old party, but the new party, the party that has come into power in the last 10 years or so, is doing to this country and wants to do to this country, then you literally are a moron. And I'm going to keep calling you out on it, especially when you post dumb shit. Well, apparently he didn't like that too much and he finally blocked me. So there we go. Here he is. This is the guy right here. Rick Wilson, I don't salute you other than with this finger. Oh, anyway, I'm going to wear it as a badge of honor, to be honest with you. I've been waiting for a large account to block me. And believe me, there's a couple other accounts that are out there that I really would love to block me because they're so damn stupid. There's one in particular, I can't think of his last name, but the first name is Bill, and he's been community noted. He has been community noted, which for those of you that don't know, community notes is like the fact checker of the X crowd. But anyway, he's been community noted a few times. And every time he does, and every time he does, I go and I kick off a note that basically says, boy, it must really suck to be community noted for your lies. But anyway, so there you go. That was my joy this weekend. I mean, other than the fact that my daughter and my son and the rest of my family, we all voted. Proud papa here. We've got 2 brand new, relatively conservative voters that are voting for, I think, the first time this year. I'm not exactly sure I don't think my son voted in the midterms, even though he was eligible. I think he missed the deadline. But anyway, this is the first time that he voted. So, hey, I'm going to wear that as a badge of honor. I'm just telling you, both for my kids and as also, too, for the Rick Wilsons of the world. And I'm not going to stop because these guys are literally morons. Well, one of the things that happened on Friday, I discussed it on Saturday. It has to deal with Trump's Joe Rogan Experience interview. So many of the left were out there bragging about the CNN interview and or CNN town hall, and how, Kamala Harris drew like 3 million viewers to CNN. And how that was just this greatest thing, 3 million people tuned in to listen to Kamala Harris on CNN's town hall. Yeah, okay. Whenever I would see those kinds of social media posts, I would respond to them and say, yeah, just wait until Trump does Joe Rogan. Well, it turns out Joe Rogan's interview draws over 28 million views on YouTube alone. I don't even know what his Spotify is, because you've got to remember, Joe Rogan is like the premier podcaster on Spotify. So I don't even know what Spotify has, going at all. I have no idea. But just imagine, she, all of her sycophantic followers are sitting there saying, 3 million people. Oh, that is just so great. Yeah. 28 million on just one singular outlet. And actually, I think it's actually closer to 30 now. The article, was obviously written 18 hours ago. So anyway, I mean, come on, folks. Seriously, come on. These are numbers that are coming out. People are coming out in droves. I'm telling you, droves. And so anyway, I mean, I understand it's a 3-hour interview, so a lot of people can't listen to it. Even I didn't listen to the whole thing, but I did hear some clips. And whenever Trump, this is one of the things that people don't seem to understand. Trump does good enough. Okay. Trump does good enough in front of audiences, in my opinion. He's not, to me, again, you can blame me all you want, but to me, he is not exactly what I would consider like a top-notch class speaker. Okay. Bad comparison, but I compare him to somebody, say, like a Ronald Reagan as an example for a political speech maker. Kind of tough to compare to the great communicator. Okay. But the thing about it is though, is that people don't seem to get that when Trump is in front of people, that is his element. He's comfortable enough to be on stage, okay, and he does well on stage, relatively speaking. But his forte is getting in front of people and having one-on-one conversations, because that's where you get the real Trump. You get the Trump of fame. You get the Trump of the people. You get to see his interactions one-on-one. And it doesn't seem, in all of his interactions, it doesn't seem to matter whether you are a billionaire or a, bottom person, meaning somebody that is, not just the common everyday nobody, quote unquote. Okay. That's where he shines. And so when he goes on to these interviews, okay, that is his arena. That is where he truly shines. And so for him doing stuff like this, people see him. He's relatable. He talks, relatively normal about people. He talks, he doesn't talk like a politician. He doesn't have canned responses. He literally just tells you, when you ask him a question, he tells you what he thinks right then and there. And it's a perfect venue for him to shine. So to go on Joe Rogan, who again is the #1 podcaster in the podcasting space right now, and I've just been updated, YouTube views on the Joe Rogan Experience have topped 35 million views on just YouTube alone. Okay. But again, that's his forte. She can't do that. That's why she didn't go on Joe Rogan, even though he extended the invitation. Okay. She can't do that. And that's part of the reason as to why she is failing and has failed in her campaign. And I'm saying she's failed, but anyway, so enough about that. With all of that being said, of course, Trump held the biggest rally on Sunday at Madison Square Garden. Now, the left, they went ballistic over this. And in fact, you'll notice that apparently now the campaign, the Harris-Walz campaign, has shifted from I'm better than the other guy to and shifted again to joy versus whatever. And then hang on, Tommy, I got something on that. Hold on. And then you now have Trump is a fascist, Trump is Hitler, Trump is blah, blah, blah. And so, sorry, sidetrack. Amy, is this considered a podcast? I call it a podcast. It's actually a podcast vodcast because it's video. But anyway, I don't even know what to call it either. But usually when I describe the show to somebody, I basically say it's my podcast. So there you go. All right. So back to what I was talking about. So he goes to Madison Square Garden. Now, keep in mind, he's been telegraphing this for a little while because he's been saying, I really want to do something in Madison Square Garden. Well, they immediately jumped on it because, of course, Trump is Hitler. Trump is fascist. Trump is, you know, everything that the Democrats really and truly want to be. Okay. And the reality of it is that it wasn't anything like that. They started comparing it. They started comparing it to the 1938 Nazi rally that occurred in Madison Square Garden. And of course, the first thing that they do is they talk about, well, if you have if you hold a Madison Square Garden rally, you are automatically a Nazi. Really? So I guess President Carter, who held one, President Clinton, who held one, and President George W. Bush, who held one in Madison Square Garden, all three. So they were all Hitler too, right? Because I guess if you hold a political rally in Madison Square Garden, or, well, realistically, they were saying any event in Madison Square Garden, that you're automatically Hitler. So I guess all of the other three that I just mentioned are all Hitler too. Well, so they go to Madison Square Garden, and Madison Square Garden has, they had, I don't know what the amount of people are, but it was full. It was reported as essentially being full. Now, keep in mind, it sold out in 3 hours. Okay. But he goes and it was sold out. It was, jam-packed. And reportedly, there was 70,000 more people outside waiting to get in. That's right. 70,000. Okay. So here's the thing. It was jam-packed. Now you got to remember, this is in New York City. New York City. One of the Democrat strongholds. Don't tell me that Donald Trump doesn't have the momentum here. Now, unfortunately, and by the way, too, I'm being told by Tommy that that I guess they put up the whole rally on the big jumbotrons outside so people could see it as well. And there were bars, according to U.S. Abbey Girl, there were bars in New York that had it on TV. So, yeah, just about everybody in New York got to see the rally, or at least a part of it, hear it even if they didn't want to, apparently. I bet Times Square even carried it. I don't know if that's true or not, but that would be kind of cool. Anyway, so the entire rally, they've got great speakers, everything is like excited. There's electrifying energy. Hulk Hogan talked about the energy. It was just an epic, what I would consider an epic potential ending to the campaign. And the one thing that the Democrats grab onto and are still talking about to this moment was one singular comedian who was trying to be edgy, who was trying to be like funny. And let me just point this out. I am not one of those people who particularly cares for some of those edgy, skirting on the edge of, civil kinds of jokesters. Okay. My preferred comedians are people like, Tim Allen. One of my favorites is Bill Engvall, Gabriel Iglesias, Jeff Dunham, those kinds of folks that don't really do a lot of cussing. They don't do a lot of bad, foul language. They don't do like racist jokes, things like that. Okay. Back in the day, I didn't care for like Eddie Murphy, like his Eddie Murphy Raw was the talk of the town when I was a kid. Then you had, Also Andrew Dice Clay and Sam Kinison. I just never got into those people. I really didn't. And so for somebody to come out and like say some jokes that are borderline racist, okay, it doesn't appeal to me. And that's essentially what ended up happening. Is this guy came out, okay, and he said some what are potentially on the edge racist comments. And one of them in particular, okay, in really particular item, was he was talking about an island in the Pacific that had a bunch of garbage, or not in the Pacific, but an island in the ocean that had a bunch of garbage on it. And that island was, quote unquote, Puerto Rico. Now, here's the problem. The immediate thing is, number one, stuff like that really isn't necessary. Okay, it really isn't. And why these comedians seem to think that's like something that is really attractive, I don't know. And it certainly wasn't appropriate for a political venue and spectatorship. But he went ahead and made that comment about Puerto Rico. And the first thing that the left did is they said, oh, he's talking about Puerto Ricans, not the Puerto Rico island. Anybody with any half of a brain could go and check and research this. And I challenge you to go ahead and do this. If you look up Puerto Rico, garbage on the island or something along those lines, okay, you'll get stories where Puerto Rico actually does have a garbage problem. It literally is, unfortunately, in a current, the ocean currents literally bring garbage that's been swept out to sea from other islands in the Caribbean all the way up into, the northern, like some of the stuff, say, during the hurricanes up here on the East Coast, all of that stuff gets sucked out to the ocean. And it, for some reason, has a lot of it ending up on the island of Puerto Rico. Now, this is a known scientific fact, and they keep talking about it. If you go and you look up Puerto Rico, one of the biggest complaints about the beaches is the fact that people are like, hey, there's always garbage on the beaches. Now, that being said, the island of Puerto Rico does take time to try and clean up the public beaches. The private beaches tend to not get cleaned up as often because, hell, they're private. They're not like, paying people to come by and pick all this stuff up. But the thing about it is it was a very poor timed, poor taste in a joke. And they are trying to attribute that comedian to the fact that MAGA thinks that Puerto Ricans are garbage. If you ask me, that's a bit of a jump. That's a bit of a jumping the shark. But you can tell it pissed them off, or better yet, they think they have something now that is going to keep people from voting Trump, because it's kind of like, well, this proves that Trump is racist and blah, blah, blah. Well, here it is in Politico. Fallout spreads from racist rhetoric at Trump's MSG rally. Now, again, it was jokes. The guy was a comedian. In fact, the Trump campaign has already denounced association with this guy, which of course the left has immediately picked up on and been like, oh, that's typical. They're going to try and distance themselves. Well, all I can tell you is this guy, it's his fault. It's no different than Kathy Gifford holding up the severed head, mock head of Trump. Okay. Very tasteless, very poor, very bad decision on her part. And honestly, this guy should take the fallout. But you can't sit here and just say that just because he was there and made a very tasteless joke, that it's that it's associated immediately to the Republican Party and MAGA. That kind of a leap only a Democrat can make. Only a moron Democrat can make. And so anyway, this is what everybody, as far as the Democrats are concerned, are going on and on about. Well, I want to show you a short video clip taken from outside on the streets of New York City. I think it was either right after the the Madison Square Garden rally or something along those lines. But here, let me just go ahead and play it, and you tell me what you think is all about with this. Take a listen.
Hey, we heard that Nazis were supposed to be here. That's what Hillary Clinton said, so we out here to see. Have you seen a Nazi today?
We are the Nazi party. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm white though.
I'm
the Nazi right here, yes.
Yeah.
Dominican Nazi.
Dominican Nazi. Latina Nazi. We got...
Oh, I'm the black Nazi.
Black Nazi.
The biggest blackest Nazi you ever seen in your life.
I'm the Jewish Nazi. The Jewish Nazi. Hey, listen, I'm the cool Nazi. I'm the white Nazi. I'm Mr. Cool himself. We out here, baby.
He's the white Nazi.
Hey, he's the white Nazi. White Nazi. He's the chicken.
United here to make Donald J. Trump the 47th president of the United States.
Stop listening to the media. Hey, we heard that.
Okay, so for those of you on the audio portion of the program, that group of individuals that you heard talking, first of all, the main guy doing it is black. Then next to him, he had two Latinos, okay, women. One of them is wearing what I believe is the Puerto Rican flag around her. Then he went to another black man who was wearing a Trump flag as a cape. Then you had next to him a Jewish man who was all part of the Trump train. Then they go and they find this white guy toward the very end. That white guy is holding an Israeli flag. The Israeli flags were up in Madison Square Garden. They had, I mean, seriously, people, the left is grasping at straws with all of this. Okay. They don't, it was a bad joke. That's it. It was a bad joke. It was in poor taste. People with sense know that that isn't necessarily associated with the Republican Party or the Trump campaign, that Trump himself is not that way. Trump is the most pro-Israel president in modern history, modern American history. He's the only one that moved the embassy into Jerusalem, where it should be, even though many had promised doing it before and never got it done. He got it done. He went ahead and did it. He's pro-Israel. He's pro-Jewish. He's got family that's Jewish. He is pro-America, pro-everything American. And, you know, all the left can do is sit there and try and tell you that this guy, meaning the next president, president number 47 of the United States of America, is a racist Nazi. Yeah. You know, it's really interesting because Trump never became racist until he decided to run as a Republican. When he was a Democrat, he received accolades and awards from people like Jesse Jackson, Reverend Al Sharpton, the NAACP. He was like he was one of their golden children. And then he decided to run as a Republican, and he immediately became racist enemy number one. Well, honestly, I think all of that is going to fall flat. And the reason being is because of the fact that so many people have been told so many lies about this man and about everything else that has been going on. The mainstream media can't even get a toehold anymore into this stuff. And so honestly, I don't think it's going to affect anything. And even if it does, it's not going to affect it in the way that they think it will. Meaning that I don't think it will move the needle anywhere close for Kamala Harris at all. She is tanking, people. She's fading fast in the last stretch, and we'll just have to kind of see. we'll just have to kind of see what happens here. But yeah, I mean, he held a fantastic rally, sold out crowd, people outside. The man can draw. And he's doing it, by the way, too. He's doing it without offering up a potential free concert from Beyonce. Just saying. Where she comes out, says a few words, and leaves for reportedly something like $10 million is what she was paid. What a bunch of crap. Anyway. All right. So, only because this matters so much, I'll have to bounce a little bit on my schedule here. I'm going to move forward in the schedule. My plan, my outline, whatever you want to call it. Apparently, remember how I told you, I think I think it was Saturday, that there was a place near me where they found a bunch of ballots that had been like pulled out of the mail and was like dumped in a ditch and those kinds of things. There's some shenanigans going on, right? Well, there's actually even worse shenanigans going on. Here, Daily Wire. 2 ballot drop boxes lit on fire, hundreds of ballots likely destroyed. Now, you can sit here and take a look at the photo that I've got on the screen here. The ballot drop box, something incendiary was dropped inside the ballot drop box. Now, where in the hell is this happening? Well, it's happening in Vancouver, Washington, and Portland, Oregon. Those are two of the Democrat strongholds here on the West Coast. Okay. And they were 15 miles apart, so it's likely the same culprit that did it. And they lit them on fire Monday morning, possibly destroying hundreds of ballots that are cast in the 2024 election. Now, just so everybody gets an idea here, remember how I was telling you that there were like 20 potential House seats that could determine the majority in the House, and one of those House seats that could help determine the majority in the House was down in my state, down in District 3. The drop box that's in Vancouver, Washington that got burnt or lit on fire is in District 3. District 3 is where Joe Kent, who lost last time against the incumbent, he lost to her by less than 1% of the vote. And now he is running against her again in the hopes that he can flip that seat from Democrat to Republican. This drop box is in that area. And of course, in Portland, of course, is, Democrat controlled country. And a lot of these morons, Democrat, leftist, lunatic morons, are all trying to attribute this to MAGA. I got one question for you, folks, who are saying that this is likely MAGA. Why would they light a drop box on fire filled with potentially hundreds of ballots that would actually win the election for them? Because again, that's a hotly contested seat in Vancouver. My guess is, and I don't know this because nothing's come out, but it would not surprise, as far as the who the person is, but it wouldn't surprise me one singular iota, okay, whether or not the perpetrator is a leftist lunatic. That's all I'm saying. Now, Tommy points out here on Facebook, she says, will the voters who put ballots in those boxes be able to verify whether their vote had been received? Yes. Here in Washington, we actually do have a, believe me, everything, our mail-in ballots are all signature verified and they're assigned specifically to an individual person. So So yeah, you can look online. There is a way, and I'm going to go look, once it gets closer to the election and we get to counting, whether or not I have, whether or not my vote has been accepted or not. It is possible to do. Okay. So anyway. Apparently my quotes are getting out because Bam used some Whiskey Musings quotes on a liberal crazy person on Facebook, and I then silenced her. She went away. Good job, Bam. No, seriously, if you guys follow me on all of the socials, because I'm on just about everything, for the most part. If you follow me on the socials, you can pick up some of my wonderful knowledge. But anyway, okay, so we have speaking of voting, we have a couple things that hasn't gone our way. The first one being right here in the National Pulse. You can see this. Biden-Harris judge rules that non-citizens can vote. Now, this actually happened last week. But apparently a federal judge that was appointed by Joe Biden says that the Commonwealth of Virginia cannot remove over 1,500 individuals who have self-identified as non-citizens from its voter roll. Now, here's how stupid this actually is. Okay. Literally how stupid this actually is. They identified themselves as being non-citizens, and it was verified by the federal government. They didn't bother. I mean, really? Judge, how stupid is this? Non-citizens are not allowed to legally vote in federal elections. They themselves said they are not legally allowed to vote. They are not citizens of the United States. How simple is this to just say, okay, take them off? Well, apparently, this judge seems to think that because it's so close to the election, that would be election interference. Huh? Really? Really? I mean, come on. This is completely freaking blatant here. They want, meaning the Democrats, they want non-citizens to vote in our federal elections. That's why they resist getting voter ID for elections, which, by the way, voter ID, in case you don't know, I know my Whiskey Warrior P1s. I know all of you watching the program here. You guys are all smart. You correct me at times. You're smart. You are the most intelligent listening audience on the interwebs right here. And I know that you guys all know that there are a ton of things that require ID to do on a day-to-day basis. It's just a mess. But hey, we lost this one. It was really it's disappointing that obviously common sense and logic doesn't run supreme in some judges. Now, we also have, by the way, the Nevada Supreme Court has upheld a law on mail-in ballots, and this one's also disappointing. The justices went ahead and turned away a challenge from Republicans in Nevada. So what happened here is that ballots that have arrived by mail can be, this is in the Epic Times, by the way, that ballots can arrive by mail and be counted up to 3 days after Election Day. But here's the problem. The Republicans were basically saying, hey, if it doesn't have a postmark, how can you validate that it actually arrived in the mail, through the mail, and wasn't just like dropped off somewhere or whatever? And that they said even ones with incomplete postage stamps, they shouldn't, if you can't determine the date that it was sent, then you need to not be able to, that ballot is no longer valid. Well, Nevada officials typically have interpreted the law as enabling the counting of ballots without any postmarks. And so this was the argument that the Republicans were saying, how can you do that? So the Nevada Secretary of State's office said in guidance to county clerks earlier this year, a mail ballot that has no visible postmarks should be interpreted to have an indeterminate postmark and therefore should be accepted if it has been received by the clerk by mail no later than 5 p.m. on the third day following the election. So remember, Nevada allows you up to 3 days past the election date to pick these things up. Okay. So, anyway, the Nevada Supreme Court just went ahead and said that the Republicans can't show, and this is kind of getting into that whole standing thing, but the Republicans failed to show them that it was in the public's interest to go ahead and disenfranchise those voters. So yeah. Anyway, and 3 Chevy asks, so now we won't know the election results for 3 days. According to Arizona, we're not going to know for up to 2 weeks. So this falls in with 3 days. So anyway, so yeah. This is just part of the shenanigans, and part of the reason, of course, is because of the fact that here we're getting, We're getting reports now that more Republicans than Democrats have voted early in the following states: Arizona, Nevada, and North Carolina. They're estimating that more than 40 million people have cast early ballots nationwide with just over 1 week to go. This is also in the Epic Times. So the data that was provided by the University of Florida's election lab shows that 41.2 million voted by mail or early in person in the vast majority of states, with only a few states not reporting data. Now, I can tell you here in the state of Washington, we've had about 1/4, almost, not quite, we're between 20 and 25% that have been returned. And they were supposed to update that at 5, and I didn't take a look. But here's the thing. Compared with 4 years ago, Republicans are actually returning more mail-in ballots and voting early in person. Now, keep in mind, okay, we got to be fair here. Party affiliation does not necessarily mean that those people are actually voting, i.e., the Republicans are actually voting Republican. However, let's be honest. Generally speaking, if you registered as a Republican, you're probably voting Republican. Same thing with the Democrats. If you're a registered Democrat, you're probably voting Democrat. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's the case 100%. So we can't really infer how the race is actually going right now based off of this. But just keep in mind that Republicans who typically don't vote early and typically vote in person are now taking advantage of early voting and early mail-in voting. So this, I take it, it's a positive sign. Not saying that it's a guarantee of a win, but it's a positive sign. Okay. So I've got one other thing, but I got to take a quick break because, frankly, my voice is about to die. Die right now, so I got to take a drink. All right. Okay, so we all know that hold up. Let me give you one last thing. One last ad spot. And let's make sure that I can actually do it. I got to check this out because I saw something too. Yep, there it is. All right, folks. You see this wonderful American flag colored and American flag themed shirt that I am wearing. And you're right, Bonnie, it is the wrong stuff. I get it. In the mason jar. But you see this wonderful flag shirt that I'm wearing. Well, guess where I got it? Yeah, that's right. You can guess. It's theflagshirt.com. Go to theflagshirt.com, and right now they are running their Veterans Day sale, where you get 10% off site-wide by using the code VETERAN10. Okay, that's VETERAN10. Veteran 10 is the promo code that you can put in at checkout in order to get 10% off site-wide on all of their shirts, all of their accessories, everything that they have. You can get 10% off right now in honor of Veterans Day. Now, this organization is run by a veteran. It's owned by a veteran. They have some great quality shirts, t-shirts. I have a couple of really good t-shirts from them. I wear their men's cotton polos, okay, because a woman's cotton polo isn't going to fit me. But I wear the men's cotton polos. They've got all kinds of stuff. They've got things made in the USA. They've got stuff for kids, just all kinds of things. So go to theflagshirt.com and check out their Veterans Day sale. Remember, 10% off site-wide under code VETERAN10. That's code VETERAN10 for the Veterans Day sale that's going on right now at theflagshirt.com. Also, too, you can, if you order $75 or more, you can get free shipping as well. So go to theflagshirt.com. Take advantage of their Veterans Day sale for 10% off site-wide using the code VETERAN10. Go to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. All right. So one other thing that came out that I don't think anybody really has paid attention to, because let's be honest, the news cycle is like wrapped up in the election. Because again, this is the most significant election of our lifetime. I'm telling you that right now. This is the most significant election of our lifetime. But all of that setting aside, Kamala Harris and the Biden administration, it's actually the Harris administration, let's just be honest. They have been pushing the idea of going and electrifying everything. And one of their selling points that they've been attempting to tell people is that if we electrify everything, it's going to lower costs. Going to all electric lowers cost. That's their pitch. And some people have gone and done, analyses and things like that have all shown that no, actually, it isn't going to lower cost. It's going to increase cost. Well, the federal, let's see, what is it? What's it called? Oh, the DOE. So the Department of Energy puts together data on residential energy prices. They put out this report on October 17th. And this report, well, let's just say it does not feature electricity in a favorable light. Here's the chart from the report. And this is a published document, okay? It's from the federalregister.gov. And in it, you can see right up here, you can see they put in 5 different types of fuels, energy, electricity, natural gas, number 2 heating oil, propane, and kerosene. Okay. The cost per million BTUs. Okay, so that BTUs is British thermal units. It's a common unit for heating that's used across the board. But the cost per million in BTUs for electricity is $47.36. Okay? You think about that and you're like, okay, that doesn't sound too bad, right? Yeah. Well, let's compare that to natural gas. Natural gas is listed as $13.38 per million BTU. Wait, whoa, what? I thought electricity was cheap. No. What about number 2 heating oil? That's got to be more expensive, right? Nope. here in the chart, $27.22 per million BTU. It's roughly $20 less per million BTU. Well, what about propane? Propane itself, $33.59 per million BTU. And kerosene was at $34.37 per million BTU. So here's the thing. The amount, and oh my gosh, and here, take a look at this. This is the other part of the chart. So this is a cost essentially per kilowatt hour or BTU, which is required by the testing procedures that they did. So electricity came in at roughly 16 cents per kilowatt hour. Well, natural gas came in at, okay, listen to this, 0.001338 per BTU. I mean, folks, electricity, out of the 5 that they used, the 5 type of energies that they put in, again, electricity, natural gas, number 2, heating oil, propane, and kerosene, electricity beat all of them. They were the highest priced of all 5 by literally, let's see, 47 minus 34, which was the closest to them. You're looking at $13. Kerosene, which was the highest price, is roughly $13 less per million BTU than electricity is. This is nuts. This is nuts. And they want us to shift over to electricity. They're trying to tell you that electricity is the way of the future. Oh yeah, everything's got to be electric. Got to be electric. Yeah, no, it's not. I've told you on this program, I've mentioned it before. You can go back and take a look through all of my episodes. I've told you on this program that electricity by itself is not the most efficient heating method. And that pound for pound, dollar for dollar, petroleum-based products are definitely better than solar, wind, and hydro in terms of being able to provide electricity for America. The only one that beats petroleum in what is considered to be the green market space is nuclear energy. That is the only one that can actually beat petroleum products in terms of being able to produce enough power for America's homes. These people are nuts. They're crazy. They don't know what they're talking about. They are completely lost in terms of how to not only govern, but also deal with things like the economy, things like foreign wars, things like our border. They, meaning the Democrat, leftist morons, have no clue what they're doing. And if you decide to vote for them, then I'm sorry. But Democrats, I'm sorry, you're morons. You just are. I'm done playing nice. There's no cutesy time. Cutesy time is over, as Dan Bongino says. You're straight up morons if you're voting for Democrats in today's day and age. All right, folks, that's it for me for tonight. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free to sign up, and once you sign up, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel, hit that green follow button. I go live Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, right here